In today's video, I head inland to explore the history of two Queensland gold mining towns, Towers and Ravenswood. Both of these towns have great stories to tell from a bygone era. Hi, today I'm in the Queensland Outback gold mining town of Towers. Fortunes won and lost, scams, crimes, even murder. This town's seen it all. And in Ravenswood, I find a pub that's seen murders, ghosts, and is literally made of bricks of gold. The story of Towers pretty much begins here at Towers Hill. On Christmas Eve in 1871, a party of prospectors led by Hugh Mosman was in this area. There was a storm brewing, there was lightning, and one of the horses bolted. A young Aboriginal boy that was called Jupiter, who was with the party, went to retrieve the horse, and when he looked down, he saw a nugget of gold. That started the gold rush at Towers. At its peak, 30,000 people were here digging for gold. These days, it's about 8,000 people that live in Towers. Look, with all the gold around here, Towers was so rich, it even had its own stock exchange. This exchange arcade was built in 1886 with the actual exchange just out the back. It was pretty quiet apparently for a little bit until it got to the 1890s and the boom really kicked in. And at one point there were more than 1,000 people here buying and selling mining licenses. And that doesn't mean all of them were honest. There are a lot of people apparently who bought pretty worthless bits of dirt. In fact, one of them said if they dug to the centre of the earth, they still wouldn't find gold. Frank Stubley owned one of the first mines here. He made a fortune. He made more than £100,000, which is billions in today's money, in the first 10 years of operation. But he wasn't very good with money, and he got scammed and persuaded to invest in some dubious investments. And in the end, he lost the lot, and he died a pauper. Because there was gold here, that meant there was money. That meant there were some beautiful Victorian era buildings, like this telegraph office from 1898. So I'm going to take a wander down the main street and have a look at some of the other beautiful Victorian era buildings that they have here in Towers. Now, in a rowdy frontier mining town, there's going to be some dodgy people. And there's been several murders reported here in Towers. One of the most famous one happened right behind me here at what's now the World Theatre. This building used to be a bank back in 1891 and was eventually converted to a theatre. Just going upstairs. There's nobody here at the moment, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to come up here, but it looks interesting, so I'll do it until somebody says, no, go away. In this room, there was a murder. A company shareholders were having a meeting, and a Mr. Haygarth was elected as the chairman. A Mr. Brown objected to that, put his hand in the pocket, pulled out a revolver, and that was the end of Mr. Haygarth. He was shot dead right here at this table. right in this spot. Mr. Brown, who pulled the trigger, well, he went on trial, was found guilty, and 5 months later was hanged to death at Brisbane Old Jail. That's the Royal Private Hotel, built in 1889. I can tell you there's probably some ghosts and spirits going on in there, because at one point I read there was a double murder inside. Those old miners were feisty little fellas, weren't they? And I guess when it comes to money, and passions get inflamed. From the lookout on Towers Hill, on one side you can see the town, on the other side pretty much there's nothing. It's called Towers Hill, probably not because of the communication towers on top, but I think when the first Europeans came here there were a couple of hills, and to them maybe it looked like towers. There were about 30 mine shafts right underneath Towers Hill where I'm standing. In some places around here you've got to watch where you're stepping. This little nondescript building behind me may look like nothing, but it's actually a seismology recording station. It's part of a network of 120 or so around the world that helps give scientists more information about earthquakes around the world. So if things start shaking, that'll be recording it. This whole area around Tower Hill is dotted with old World War II bunkers. These were put here because of in 1942, the Battle of the Coral Sea. It was part of the defence system for this town. Seems a bit overzealous to me. There are quite a few of them all dotted around. I don't even know if Charters Towers was under any sort of threat whatsoever. Battle of Coral Sea happened way out at sea, out past Townsville, in the open waters, past the Great Barrier Reef. So I'm not sure if Charters Towers was really under any kind of threat. Back in its heyday, Charters Towers referred to itself as the world, because apparently anything that you really wanted, you could get here. But I'm figuring that miners probably just wanted a good shovel, a decent pub, and a couple of loose women. Is that what they're referring to? I don't know. Anyway, they built a statue of the world here. Alright, I got the hat on now because it's really warming up. It's about 35 degrees today, and it's not even summer. Often in summer it gets well past 40 degrees Celsius here. In Charters Towers it's bloody hot, mate. Now, community art projects, love them. There's what they call a wall of history at one of the shopping centres here. These are mosaics and they're beautiful, and it just shows some of the history of Charters Towers. Let's have a look. This is called a poppet head. So this is basically what was above each mine shaft. And during its heyday in Charters Towers, the whole area was covered with these things, with poppet heads sticking up everywhere. Oh my God, I'm rich. Oh. If you really want a sense of an old abandoned cemetery, then the Charters Towers Pioneer Cemetery is a place to come. Apparently the cemetery is the original one. It goes back to the 1870s and early 1880s, and it kind of looks old. There's a lot of graves that are very unattended and falling apart. The thing about cemeteries is they often tell you stories about what life was like back in the old days. Like this one, we've got Robert Dott, who was born in Edinburgh. He came out here and he was accidentally killed when he fell from his buggy at Charters Towers in 1888. There's probably a lot of really unmarked graves here too. A lot of young boys were working in those mines, and there was no OH&S in those days. A lot of accidents happened, and I don't have any numbers, but I'm sure there were plenty of young men who died in those mines and are now here in the ground, in this dry, hard ground. The Burdekin River is the local river here. There's not much water in it now, but it does have a tendency to flood. Here are some of the markers of floods in the past. This is remarkable. Now we're up to 1991, but see what happened in the 1940s. That's about 30 or 40 metres above the level that it's at now. Oh my God. About an hour up the road is the tiny historic town of Ravenswood. Here you'll find a pub with plenty of stories to tell about ghosts, murders and gold. There used to be something like 40 pubs in Ravenswood. Now there's 2. This one's the Railway Hotel. This was built at the turn of the century and it was made of bricks from an Italian brickmaker who happened to be in town. And so they were all made locally. And apparently if you look really hard, you can still see some alluvial gold within the bricks.
If you pick them up.
Oh, I can.
See them?
Right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Every brick has got a bit of alluvial in it.
Got what?
Alluvial gold, can't you see?
Oh, yeah.
Look.
Go for a walk in the dining room and upstairs if you like, mate.
Thank you. Now, like you maybe would expect with an old pub, there are some mysterious stories related to this one. Apparently, there are people that have been in this pub and they may have passed on, but their spirits are still here. I've already heard stories about an Edwardian woman. People would go to sleep in their room, and when they wake up in the morning, there were sheets folded at the end of the bed that weren't there when they went to sleep. People have stayed here in recent times and reported that in the middle of the night they hear a man's voice whispering hoarsely, "Get out, you're not welcome here." So if you like old pubs, and especially if you like old haunted pubs, then the Railway Hotel is for you. Apparently they've got a couple of secret rooms downstairs, so we're going to go down and explore that.
Downstairs we've got accommodation. This was for the working class.
Refined guests?
People were upstairs and
Okay.
the lower class stayed down here.
In the early days of Ravenswood, this room was used as the morgue.
So if your camera's going to pick anything up, I've got to turn some lights on yet. Let them know we're coming, so you stay right here. I sacrificed myself, okay?
This is the dungeon.
Just wait here. See, she's dark to dark.
We're going in.
You couldn't wait, could you?
No. Oh my
You
goodness.
couldn't wait.
Including the underground section, the hotel is 3 stories tall. If these walls could talk, imagine the stories they tell.
So watch your footing. We have a lot of grass cutters on board here. What's your feet coming up here? This room here is thought to be a double murder happened in here.
A double murder?
In 1918, I believe, somewhere around there. The story goes that when... No, the story goes that it was a husband, he wasn't jealous, just caught his wife with somebody and got them both and went back upstairs and had a beer, called the police. Apparently he got 2 beers in before they turned up.
Wow.
But this room here, and the room down there, somehow is connected. If we've had people talking and different things, it's that in room and this room. I've only had one personal encounter. Over years, I've been coming since the late 70s to Ravenswood, and I've never had anything until not long ago. The next room we're going into, you will encounter spirits. So if you're frightened, don't come any further. It's the whiskey bar, famous Ravenswood whiskey bar. You may also have a cigar in the whiskey bar.
What's the oldest whiskey you've got here?
I've already drank it. I thought it was old and I didn't want to throw it away. Yeah, I couldn't tell you, actually. Liqueurs.
This originally was the ladies' lounge, so the ladies had to sit this side of the bar. They weren't allowed in the front bar. The only ladies that were allowed in the front bar were dancing girls. Plenty of them around, I imagine. Here's a crazy thing about the pub. It kind of has a disappearing wall. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, there's your edge. We're expecting a wall along that side as I move over. Nothing there. That's so strange. The other pub in town is the Imperial Hotel, also built at the turn of the century. G'day, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
The Imperial Hotel was built in 1902, and like I said before, there's only 2 pubs left in town now. And both these pubs in town still offer accommodation like they've been doing for more than 100 years. What an absolute treasure this town is. Oh my goodness. Loving it. They're still mining gold here, right on the edge of town. Is Queensland's largest gold mine. It's a big open cut mine. Just out of town a few kilometres is an old rock formation called White Blow. It's 300 million years old. It's a little mountain of quartz. A very long time ago, this was about 5 kilometres under the ground, covered by granite, but gradually through erosion, with wind and water, etc., the granite eroded right away and just left this poking up out of the ground. Amazing, never seen anything like it. A little mountain of quartz, solid quartz. Well, I've had a great time exploring these old gold mining towns of Towers and Ravenswood. Really fascinating, really fascinating. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. Hit the like and the subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next video. He had 2 reefs. It earned him... Really? Go away. Go away. I'm trying to vlog. The company's shareholders were having a meeting, and a certain Mr... what was his name? I do love these beautiful old Queenslanders. They're raised up... Oh, there's a big old dog.
Come and set our hearts on fire. Wake us up with your desire.